You're listening to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast with your host, Letitia Ringe, and this is episode number 29. Welcome back to another episode of the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I'm Letitia Ringe, your host, and this podcast is designed to inspire, empower, and support you on the journey of creating a life that is beautiful to you and aligning and discovering your truth and purpose in the world. So welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Today, I'm super excited to share this episode with you because it's actually been one of my favorite episodes to record so far. Today, we also have our first repeat guest on the podcast. And so we will be hearing from Ms. Kelly Trach. She appeared on episode number 16 where she spoke about her journey to doing the work she does today as a life coach in Vancouver. Before that, she worked in Silicon Valley. She had 3 startups before she realized that she was on the wrong track and needed to pivot to start her life coaching business. So if you want to go and listen to her full story, go back to episode 16 and listen to that. But today I've had Kelly on because I really wanted to talk to her about building a conscious business. And this is because Kelly recently launched her brand new course, Your Conscious Empire, which is a fantastic offering of hers. And I've been so impressed with the business that Kelly has created. Kelly is one of my business besties. We've run a course together. We will have future courses that we'll be holding together. And I highly respect and admire her. And I have been going through her course, Your Conscious Empire, and it is seriously the course I wish I had when I started my business. It would have saved me a whole lot of time and trouble, and it's so beautiful because she is doing this from the viewpoint of a Silicon Valley approach mixed with all the elements of flow and manifestation and mindset that I also love, adore, teach, and use in my own business. So today on this episode, we're talking about what even is a conscious business. We're also going through how you can protect your innovation in business, how to build a business with integrity, how to build a conscious community, how to not fall into the comparison trap, consumer power and marketing, self-worth and money, because seriously, you got to get your money blocks sorted before you start a business, or even if you've started a business, you've got to keep clearing all of that junk out of there if there are any blocks. We talk about sharing your message and so much more. This episode is the most practical episode I've recorded to date. There is so much in here that will be helpful for you if you run a business or if you want to run a business. It is incredible. And, you can also use this even if you're not interested in running a business. If you want to build a conscious high vibe community, it is so wonderful. And I'm also going to be taking you through at the end of this episode my special affiliate offer if you do want to sign up for Kelly's Your Conscious Empire. This is a seriously amazing offer. There is a limited time on it, so make sure you listen to the end to get that. And just a quick couple of notes on this and why I think it's so amazing. So Kelly basically gives you all of her how-to guides on how to build a podcast, a website, online courses, how to make conscious cash with integrity, how to use the Silicon Valley approach, how to master your mindset, how to remove old money programming that's blocking you from calling in the money and clients and things that you want in your business, how to use high vibe conscious communication. She even gives you a high vibe conscious communication handbook that includes actual examples from her own business that she's used in emails, DMs, messengers with her own community. And there's also a guidebook that takes you through all these different exercises to help you reprogram your mind, get clear on your why, understand your ideal clients, products and pricing, heart-centered marketing, building your website, and taking inspired action, building a business that grooves with your soul, figuring out what the red thread through all of your experience is, your offerings, your gifts. So it's completely in alignment with everything I teach over here at Create a Life That Is Beautiful. I absolutely think that this is an incredible offer, and I know that it's going to be of benefit to some of you in my community, especially if you are someone who is a life coach or a creative looking to start your business, or are in the early stages of your business and are looking for some really amazing practical advice on how to build not only a business that is fun and easeful and conscious, but also one that is profitable. So make sure you listen to the end of the episode to hear what my affiliate offer is, and otherwise enjoy this conversation. It's jam-packed with useful tools for you. And before we dive in, I just want to give 3 quick announcements. The first is about my upcoming new moon ritual in London. This is the first event of our Awaken Moon series that I'm running with my friend Caitlin Bookless. We will be holding a new moon circle and ritual on the 7th of September here in London. So if you want to come and join us, make sure you check that out on my website, letitiaringe.com. Go to the courses and event page and you'll be able to find it there. The second is that on the 22nd of September, I also have a workshop coming up that I'm running with my friend Ange Severo. This is yoga, meditation, and life coaching exercises to help connect you to the energy of the outer season, which in London and in the Northern Hemisphere is our first month in autumn. It's so easy to feel disconnected from what's going on around us when we live in a fast-paced city. So this workshop is going to help you reconnect your body, mind, and soul to the energy of the outer season. And I'm so looking forward to meeting some of you there. The third is that my course, Embrace Your Feminine Essence, which is my online course that will reconnect you to your feminine energy, teach you how to use your menstrual cycle and hormonal cycle to leverage your creative power and potential, and then integrate all of this juiciness with both the moon cycle and with your masculine energy to create the perfect system that allows your body, mind, and soul to thrive in both your personal and professional life. That course, Embrace Your Feminine Essence, is opening again up for enrollment on the 9th of September. This is the day of the new moon in Virgo. So exciting. So it's going to be opening back up for enrollment on that day. It'll be offered as an evergreen course, and I'll share more details about that at the end of this episode. If you are interested in purchasing Kelly's Your Conscious Empire, I highly recommend you listen to the offer at the end of this episode, because you're going to be getting a really amazing offer that's going to include both Your Conscious Empire and Embrace Your Feminine Essence. Okay, let's dive on in. Hi, Kelly. Welcome back to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast.
Oh my God, thank you so much, Letitia. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited. I'm like, my face is grinning so hard. I wish you could see.
I am so excited to have you back on as well. So for anyone new who's listening, Kelly was back on, well, she was on the podcast for the first time in episode number 16. And so she gave a great rundown of, her story to doing the work that she does today, but we've got her back on again. And Kelly is one of my business besties, I'd say. And so Kelly, I know that I know you pretty well, but I want to know you a little better, I've got to say. So I have this little mini lightning round that I want to do, and I just want you to answer, the first thing that comes to mind, okay? So like whatever comes to mind, drop in, just let us know. Are you ready?
Oh my God. Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So this is a list of your favorites today. Kelly Trach's favorites today. So Kelly, what is your favorite crystal?
Oh, right now citrine.
Yoga pose.
Oh, half moon.
Ooh, flower.
I love peonies and hydrangeas.
Oh, they're so pretty. What about affirmation?
Oh, I'm a badass at making money.
You know what's so funny? Next question is, what's your favorite book?
You're a badass at making money by Jen Sincero.
I've passed the test. What's
my
your
God,
favorite color?
Lime green.
Ooh, drink?
I honestly love just water with ice.
Nice. Outer season.
Oh, my favorite season, definitely summer.
Song?
Oh, Butterfly by Jason Mraz. It's my karaoke go-to. I know all the words and I have a dance. And Chris, I always get Chris. I'm like, my secret dream growing up was to be a triple threat. And I always ask him, what am I best at, singing, dancing, or acting? And he's always like, acting number one, then dancing, and then singing. And I try so hard to work on my singing, but it just doesn't get any better.
Oh, I love that. And what about Inner Season?
Oh, my favorite inner season? Autumn, even though Chris hates that season because I want to purge everything. And I'm actually very productive because I get rid of the shit I don't like in my life.
Yes, good. Also, it's a great time for completing. So you're getting things done. Okay, speaker.
My favorite speaker?
Yeah.
Oh, man. You know, I saw Gabby Bernstein speak live and it changed my life. It was a moment when I realized that I was like, wait a second, I want to do that too.
Yeah, she's incredible. I've seen her twice recently and she really elevates your vibe while you're there, which we both appreciate. Okay, favorite thing about running a conscious business?
Oh my God, doing whatever the fuck I want, whenever I want.
Throw a serious one in there. Oh, I love this. Thank you so much for going through that lightning round.
Oh my God, that was so fun. You know what? The funniest bit was yesterday I was in a yoga class and we were doing half moon pose. And I was like, half moon pose is my favorite pose. And I was thinking like, you know, if anyone ever asked me what my favorite pose was, it would be half moon. And that was like a random thought I had last night. And like nobody's ever asked me that. And you brought it up. So I manifested that.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're so aligned, as we know. And actually, this is a good time to share. So I don't know if you know this, Kelly, or if anyone listening, but I often like to pull a card from my Doreen Virtue Goddess Guidance Oracle card pack before my interviews. And, you know, I just tune in to whoever I'm about to speak with. And I know some of you listening might think that that's really woo-woo, but I love it. So anyway, I've done that and I pulled for this interview with Kelly, Rhiannon, sorceress, but this is what's so cool about it. You are a magical person who can manifest your clear intentions into reality.
Oh my God, I love that. I feel like that's like the best card you could ever pull.
It's like mic drop, right? And there's a unicorn on it as well. So
oh my God.
She's literally riding a unicorn. So this is just amazing and so perfect for you because, you know, we both connected through Flow with Intention, which is all about manifestation. And we've both been going on our own wild, and I say conscious manifestation actually because we're always manifesting whether we're aware of it or not, as you know. And so I just think that this was the perfect card for our conversation. So
yeah, totally.
Thanks for coming on again, Kelly.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is just fun. I love this.
So I wanted to get you on to talk about a particular topic that I know that you can give us a lot of guidance on, especially with your most recent creation, which is your Conscious Empire, which I'm sure we'll dive into in a bit. But to get started, I wanted to know, what do you believe makes a business conscious?
Oh, I love that question. I would say heart and soul and integrity. Like conscious, when I was making that course, like I had that idea. I remember sitting down talking with friends about it, and I get these ideas for a course every time I go on a vacation in Hawaii. I'm like, I get a new course idea. So this idea came in January of 2018, and it was the one word I could not get out of my head. It was the word conscious. It was going to be like conscious business or conscious company or conscious something. And I kept trying to play with other words, but conscious was the one that stuck right from the start. I love that word because it's so lit up and it's so full of that beautiful, juicy integrity. And I feel like, I mean, I love businesses and I love what businesses can do as a vehicle for social change. And I'm so lit up about this idea that if you make money and you make conscious cash with integrity, you can do awesome stuff in the world. And when you're making money in a super aligned way that feels really good for you, doing stuff that is awesome. And when you kind of shift that mindset and you realize, wait a second, I can get paid for my divine gifts and do work in the world that has impact and, you know, in turn, circulate my money in better, more conscious directions. That's the kind of stuff that makes the world go round. Like that's the stuff that really moves the needle. I always like to explain, like, there's a part in that course where I talk about shifting your mindset around business because a lot of people have this negative perception of what business means. And when I was a business school student, people would always be like, boo, business kid. And I'm like, what the heck? But if you actually think about it, if you look at the different types of business models, there's the people who are doing non-for-profits and charity work. And like, it's a lot more difficult and uphill and upstream to start a shoe charity where you're asking to donate shoes. And then you have Tom's who like builds a social enterprise, does a company like with integrity, and then you are like generating all that beautiful income and circulating it in conscious directions. Like the impact you can have with a conscious business is just so much more broader, and you can really have that impact that you're looking to create in the world. So yeah, that's how I would define conscious.
I love that. I really love that. I think you're right. When it comes to business, we have this really like icky feeling about business. It's like a bit slimy. People are just trying to take things from us. And especially like today. And millennials, we know when people are just trying to take our money, when people aren't being authentic. And so I think that purpose behind business, that whatever that purpose is, but other than generating a profit, is really important for millennials. And we need to get over that business is slimy, because there is this real thing that if we're doing work that's helping people or helping the community, that we shouldn't get paid for it. And I love when people ask me about this same sort of question. I love to say, wouldn't you prefer to have more money being put into businesses that, are trying to help social change, like you talk about, and are trying to, help create change, and they have a purpose outside of profit that you really agree with and that aligns with you? Why aren't we putting our money, our energy into those sorts of businesses rather than ones where we are feeling like it is just, capitalist greed or something like that?
Yeah, totally. And I feel like especially in the more conscious groups and like millennials who care and people who want to be change makers, like you vote with your dollar, right? Everyone's always like, oh, it's so hard to influence today's like political climate and all the stuff that's happening in the world. You vote for what you want with every single dollar you spend. So how you spend your money is so important. And I'm really into like spending my money consciously. And like for me, it's so important to spend money where I know it's having an impact. And like every time I spend the money and the extra money for the organic tomato or for the local organic kale that's grown close to my home, and like supporting people that I care about and business practices that I care about and stuff that really aligns with my value. For starters, when we do that and when we show up in that energy, because money is just energy, when we give our energy to the stuff that matters, that's really what changes worlds. And also like that's honestly when you put your money where your values are, that's how you make more money. I've seen it in my business. I've seen it honestly with my own personal investments. Like the more I buckle down on what's really important to me, what I want to align with, what kind of stuff really aligns with my values. And when I get so energetically clear, and like get rid, like even like we referred to inner autumn, like getting rid of the stuff that isn't conscious, like not buying those brands that, aren't doing what I want, not investing in companies that like are making good dividends, but stuff that's actually lit up and aligned with me. The more I've buckled down on this is where my values are. This is where I'm going to spend my money. These are the businesses I want to support. These are like the local entrepreneurs or the female entrepreneurs. That energetic signal that you admit to the universe comes right back at you. So yeah, I love that.
Oh, that's just chills and everything you've been saying. Then I love the idea about being energetically clear. I think that's really important. And also the power behind our dollar, what we're spending our money in. I think we can often think, who cares? I don't have power. We really feel like we're powerless, but there is so much power in the consumer, and we're discovering that more and more, these days. And what we purchase, we have that purchasing power. We are the ones that are generating the supply and demand through what we're actually buying. So I think when I sort of started to see that, yeah, actually, well, if I'm just letting my money go to these companies that aren't aligned with my values, that started to make me feel really icky. That was the
Yeah.
ickiness. But if I could then move that my own energetic input through my money and through my time and what's filling up my space to things that I care about, it just became so fun, and so fun to spend money as well, and to receive money, of course, in the same way. So I think it's this really, that beautiful energetic cycle. So I really love what you said about being energetically clear. Like, I think that's such a great point.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's a huge piece that I had to like discover myself. I actually heard it on a ritual podcast, and he was talking about, I forget what he was talking about, but I think he was talking about his own personal investments. And like I forget, but I think he was something he mentioned it in like in a one-off sentence. And that night I literally went home and I was like, I'm pulling all my money out of these stocks. I'm not buying these brands. I'm going to change where I shop. Like, it's 100% at this store only. And it was like a huge turning point for me, because it was sort of like, sometimes we don't always think or like think through, or we make assumptions or we make choices, especially like, I mean, going to business school, I learned so much about marketing, right? Marketing and buyer behavior. And quite often the way in which we buy stuff, we default to what we've learned from our family, and we just buy the brands they buy, and we don't sometimes ask or probe. We just sort of are like, oh, this is what it's always been like, or we've always shopped here, or we've always bought this brand of dish detergent. Why would I switch? And just that moment of, wait a second, is this a choice I'm making? Is this a choice that I want to make with my dollar? Is this where I want to be in integrity with my values? Or am I just defaulting to what I've seen, or what the ads are telling me, or what other people buy? And what do I really want for myself and my clear energy?
Oh, I love that. And like, conscious is really about awareness, isn't it? So
Yeah.
that's when we're taking our power back. That is really simply about becoming aware of what we're doing, how we're using our energy, our time, all of our resources. It's that awareness, because, as you know, Kelly, once you've got the awareness, that's, most of the game in changing anything you're doing.
Totally.
Oh, I love that. So, Kelly, I also really wanted to get you on because I listened to one of your episodes on your podcast, which I love, and you were talking about the evolution of kellytrach.com since you started. And I really, really loved it. I was so intrigued to know more about your business journey within kellytrach.com, because, you've had 3 businesses before that. You've been through Silicon Valley Business School. You got a lot of experience from the traditional, business, and then you've gone and created kellytrach.com. And I really, really, really loved what you shared about that evolution. So I'd really love it if you could, just tell us a little bit more about that evolution of kellytrach.com.
Yeah, for sure. I also like to refer to my business as kellytrach.com, because it helps me like distance myself from it. And like for me, kellytrach.com, even though it's got my name on it, it's really about my community and about my people and my tribe. So I like to just call it kellytrach.com. I don't know what else to call it, because it's got my name in there. But yeah, so if I rewind, I started in high school. I was like, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. In Canada, we have this show called Dragon's Den, which is the Canadian equivalent of Shark Tank. And I was watching that in high school, and I was like, I want to be on that show. That stuff is so cool. And I put my application into business school saying I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And then I went through business school at a really, really excellent business school here in Vancouver, Canada. And business school is ultra competitive. Like, even though Canadian schools are not Ivy League by any means, like we were honestly, at the end of my year, I counted up how many Harvard MBA cases I had done, and I had done 250. So it was equivalent to like a quarter of the work and the cases that the Harvard MBA students use, because our school would just buy the cases and give them to us. And we would we'd be like doing international case competitions and competing with other like Ivy League schools. And like, even though Canada does not always get a lot of credit for how awesome their universities are, like the UBC Sauder School of Business was like cutthroat and intense. And it was like, I swear to God, I got an Ivy League education out of that. And like, yeah, I was like really put through the ringer. And then there's such this different mentality when you go into that, and you have so much groupthink, especially when you are in a place where everybody else is like super type A high achievers, and you're like, oh my God, I'm not doing enough. And then I kind of was like, I kind of went in with the mold, and I was just like, oh, I'll just get a job in marketing or sales. And that's what I'm good at. And I can just do that. And then at the end of graduation, the gold star for me as a business school student was to get a job offer before I graduated, to just have my ducks in a row, because that's what I had seen all the successful kids ahead of me had. Like they would have the offer before they were done. And I got my offers and I signed with the company, and I had this space from December to September, and I was supposed to start work at a company in September. And I was like, well, what would I do? What would be fun? And I was like, well, I'll just start my own business. Why not? And then I started tinkering on it, and it was a tech startup around making organic food more available to the 99% of the world, not just the 1%. And that ended up turning into going down to San Francisco and pursuing that full time, never even going and stepping foot at the job I was supposed to take. I emailed them a couple months before my start date saying, hey, I'm not coming anymore. That didn't go over so well. But I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not showing up. And one tech startup turned into 3, and all 3 failed. And then I had a moment where I was like, well, what if I just did what was easy for me? And then the first bit of kellytrach.com, I started just talking about what I knew. So backstory, I have an autoimmune condition, and I used to have leaky gut and candida, and just my whole body was just a mess, and I had bloating and inflammation, and I was sick all the time, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I'd spent all this time throughout high school and university trying to like heal myself and figure out what was wrong, which is what I started talking about on the beginning, early stages of kellytrach.com. And even before I had a website with my name on it, I had a little blog where it was called The Abundant Cook, and then it became The Wild Manifesto. And these were just tiny blogs where I was just getting stuff out there, and I was too chicken to even put my own name on it. And people were reading it, and strangers were reading it. So I, at one point, moved it to kellytrach.com, and then I kind of wrote my first ebook, which I called F This Shit, I'm Curing Myself, How to Ditch Chronic Illness and Get Yourself a Life. And that turned into a couple other little mini products and courses about healing. And then I kind of had this pivot, because when I had written my first ebook, I had this chapter in there, which was called Chapter 6, Shift Your Mind, Shift Your Life. And I just wrote everything I knew about mindset, because the mindset component behind healing my body was a huge piece for me. And that was like a piece that I never had read about in any sort of microbiome gut book or any kind of science book or any kind of plant-based eating book, was this mindset piece. And I wrote that in like one sitting. I wrote the whole chapter in one sitting. And that book was like a 200-page book. And I remember getting feedback from that book, and everybody was like, I love chapter 6. I love chapter 6. And I was like, I love chapter 6. And then I made a little course called Control Alt Delete the Mindset Reboot, which was all about how to really do the mental work first before you heal your body and change your life. And I just started dabbling in that more and more and more. And then I was like, wait a second, I actually really love this. It was like I had all these other passions. Like I'm really big into food and organic eating and plant-based food and sharing, what's important for me and like holistic living. And then it kind of had sifted down in terms of, okay, I love actually the self-development of this, of like, you got to have your stuff. I always say, you got to do the inner work first before you take action. You have to do that inner mental mindset work, and you got to believe that you're, worthy of it, and that you're deserving, and that your self-limiting beliefs are cleared up, and you have good self-talk, and then you can go out there and take action on what you want to do. And it was just this refinement. It was like I had this rock of like, this is all the stuff I love. And I slowly buffed it down into this little diamond. So then it turned into, I was doing events where I was just talking about food and like anti-inflammatory diets. And I would talk a little bit about mindset. And then honestly, one day this girl came up to me after my event and asked me if I did coaching. And then I was like, what the heck? My first thought was like, you want me to be your coach? Why wouldn't you hire Tony Robbins? Go to a Tony Robbins seminar. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to teach you. And then sometimes the universe works like that, where it helps you refine what you want. And kellytrach.com has taken so many twists and changes, and like, from health to mindset. And I still teach a ton about mindset, even on the podcast. And now sort of adding in this layer of consciousness. And I talk a lot more about like law of attraction and business and creation and spirituality. And just knowing that my business has changed so much and refined over time, because I've changed and refined over time. And that's totally okay. At the beginning, I was really nervous. The very first time I ever mentioned like oh my God, I was talking about more mindset topics than health. I was like, oh, I can't do this. My podcast used to be called Heal with Kelly Trach, and then I went through a rebrand, and I was just like, why not? Like, why not just talk about what I'm really like? And then I remember the first time I mentioned Abraham Hicks on the show, I like really mentioned it super subtly because I was like, I've always been talking about these like hardcore science facts or like, these are the books that are written by professional MDs that are the top of their field in functional medicine. And then here I was like quoting Abraham Hicks, which is like the opposite spectrum. It's like woo woo versus like hardcore science and like, data from something important and credible. And just it's changed so much, and I'm totally okay with that. And yeah, part of having a business is just understanding that it's going to change, and the wins and the sales are going to change, and that's okay. And like go with it, and just understand that that's so normal, and that you don't have to be positioned to one thing the entire time.
Yes, it's so important. I mean, I've got the same, in my own journey as well, just getting clearer and clearer, but also just adding things on, new interests, the flow with intention and manifestation.
Uh-huh.
And actually, my manifestation story began when I was 21, but it had a bit of a break, and then I brought it back in and then started drawing on all of that as well. So I really love, with your business, that you're tying this in with everything that you've learned in the self-development, and also that your journey, like your gateway into self-development, was through your health. And I think for a lot of guests that I've had on the podcast, this is a really similar story, and it was for me as well. Something happens physically with your body. So there's some sort of healing involved, and this is what leads you to self-development. It leads you to becoming more aware, and then that starts the journey down the rabbit hole. But it's like our intuition is, and the universe is speaking to us through our body. It's this body intelligence letting us know, we want to get you on this different track. And so you follow that and explore it, and then it leads you to, it's not where you thought. You probably thought that you'd stay in health, and I would have as well. But then it takes you somewhere that you didn't expect, but you've got to remain open to all of these. And because it's just so interesting to see, Kelly, because you on the podcast, it seems like you've been speaking about consciousness and spirituality, and also of course mindset, which you have been speaking about for longer. But all of this stuff, it seems like you've been speaking about it for a long time. It seems natural, it seems authentic, and that's because it is.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. And like sometimes my favorite things that Steve Jobs always said was, he's like, you can only connect the dots looking back. And I was talking about this the other day on my friend Brooke's podcast, the Success Babe Radio. She had me on her show, and I was saying, the very first self-help book I picked up was when I was 11, and I went to Costco with my mom, and I bought How to Win Friends and Influence People for Teen Girls. And I was highlighting it with my pink highlighter and making purple stars. And I was having a hard, like, looking back at that, I was like, duh, Kelly, of course it makes sense as to how you got here. And I talk a lot in Your Conscious Empire about, there's a whole piece on, because it takes you through everything, like how to even figure out what kind of business you want, if you have a business idea, if you have no ideas. And I talk a lot about finding your red thread. I call it your red thread. This red thread you can weave through all of your past experiences. And then if you weave them all together and you pull out your skills and your gifts and your abilities and what you've learned, you're actually going to realize that you've been weaving magic all along. And that somehow, despite how random, quote unquote, random your experiences were, you have arrived at the present moment, and you have all the gifts and abilities and skills you need to create that exact business and create and manifest that exact calling that you have on your life. And everything you've done in the past has brought you to where you are now, and has contributed in massive ways that you didn't really realize until this moment. So looking back at early self-help books I read, or like reading The Secret in high school and being like weirdly obsessed with it, and just, I can see how it's all come together now, and that I've actually been doing this for a long time, even though I've only kind of started sharing my voice publicly on the podcast for almost a year now. But it's been a time in the making, in the same way that it's been the same for you, Letitia, or for the guests listening. It's the same thing of when we look back, we're like, oh, it's obvious.
Yes, absolutely. I love that piece about the red thread. It's so true. And I think, this we've got to redefine how we look at time, because, how long you've been studying something or interested in something, it can't be the determiner of what you actually speak about in your business or your life, or, because you're inspired by that now. So that's energized. So share that now. Don't wait, because it might pass. If you had have waited to start talking about all the anti-inflammatory diets and everything else that you're talking about around healing in terms of food, then we would have missed out on everything that you had to share on that topic, because, we're always growing. So what interests us change. So I think that's really important for people. It's like, be really open to what you're enjoying at the moment, and to, really owning that wherever you are, and then allowing it to, unfold as it needs to.
Yeah, totally, totally. And the unfolding bit is the fun part. Like, it took me forever to realize that the journey was actually the destination. And once I realized that, and Abraham always says, like, you can't have a happy ending unless you have a happy journey. And yeah, a huge part of your conscious empire and what I teach in that course is that it's got to be fun and easy. And there's got to be a ton of flow and simplicity. And it's got to really energize you and light you up. And if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. And it's got to be like that. Otherwise, you're just slogging it out. And if you don't have the happy journey, you don't have a happy ending. And I just loved it when Abraham brought that up, because I was like, oh, that's the missing piece I never understood before.
Yes, that's the journey that matters, not the destination. And it's so funny, because this was a statement that was just repeated over and over and over again in my year 11 and year 12 English. And I loved it. I loved exploring this concept, and to just see how this has come back in my adult life as being, one of the most important statements to live by, and just like reconfirming that in everything that I am learning along my own journey. It's so fascinating. But that's right, our experience here is made up of moments, and it's the one you're living now, and then the next and the next and the next. So if you're not enjoying this moment, then that's likely that overall you're not going to be having a very fun time. So control what you can, in the present moment. I really love that, Abraham. So amazing. So Kelly, tell me, mixing the Silicon Valley approach then, everything that you've learned through your business education then with this flow, how has that helped you to change how you show up in your business?
Oh my God, so much. It's like combining the strategy with that intentional design. Man, yeah, I like they always say, you never like can connect the dots until you're really in the present moment. And I kind of had this inspired action. I was like, wait a second, if anybody can teach a course on business in this new age way, it's totally me, because I always sort of thought my experiences used to be random. And I used to be embarrassed about the fact that I had 3 failed startups, and then I wasted a ton of time doing shit that didn't work. And looking back, it made so much sense, because, I always say that there's 3 kind of zones of business and the teaching of business. There's the traditional business school, where they teach you management and consulting and like what it's like to have an 80-person team and a $2 million budget. And then there is the Silicon Valley way, which is like $0 budget. It's just you. Let's just test this, validate this. How can we scale this? How can we grow this? How can we automate this? How can you really build it to scale? And then there's sort of the third bucket of what it's actually like to have your own business. And those 3 pieces are so unique and so different in terms of their styles and their degrees, because like I've seen it all. I've done the business school, I was your classic, like going to school on scholarship, graduating with honors, the Silicon Valley way of doing things, which I love learning because it was so different. I teach a ton in your conscious empire about, how to really validate and test your ideas. I call it starting with the Silicon Valley approach. And the Silicon Valley approach is it's a phrase I made up. That's not like somebody's term. The best part about building your own stuff is that you get to make up words and explanations and stuff. So the Silicon Valley approach is all about how you can take your idea and really test it, make sure people are going to buy it, make sure that you have vetted that this thing is going to work, it's going to be profitable. And once you've tested it, then you go and make it. You don't make it first. It's not build it and they will come. You test it. And once people have committed to it, then you go make it. So like, for example, I talk a lot about, how to just take your initial idea and do the minimum viable product. So minimum MVP is it's a tech word, and it's like, okay, if you want to build Airbnb, what's the tiniest test you can do? Like, how about putting an ad on Craigslist and saying, hey, I have a mattress in my kitchen. You can sleep on it, $30, and see if anybody messages you. That's like an example of a minimum viable product. And this course really walks you through what it's like to, when you have an idea, to test it first before you even start, before you open a business bank account, before you get a lawyer, before you open for sales, before you spend 5 months building your online course. Test, validate, and prove that it's going to be successful. And I also teach you how to get pre-orders and stuff and how to get money up front. So like, for example, with Your Best Life, that course I had on pre-order, and before I even made the thing, I already had sales. So that's the best way to do it, is test it, validate it, ask your customers for money ahead of time. And then with that money, like, invest in the equipment you need, get the stuff ready, and do it that way. That's the Silicon Valley style I really teach and hone in with my coaching clients, my business coaching clients, or in Your Conscious Empire, because I feel like that's the bit I see a lot of entrepreneurs screw up. They make stuff, and I used to do this myself. Like, with all of my previous health books and courses, I would just make a course and then launch it. I would just make the book and launch it. And if I had spent more time testing and validating my ideas, I could have made way more money. I could have found better product market fit, meaning that my people would have been more interested in it, because like, you got to have your products that fit with your market. If one of them is a little bit off, it's not going to click. And I talk a lot about product market fit as well in that course. But if I had spent more time testing my idea and doing it properly, I would have made more money in my first year. I mean, now I do it all with the Silicon Valley approach, and I am generating a lot more income from kellytrach.com. And that's because it's just so important to test and not just make it and just cross your fingers and be like, okay, I'll just wait for the sales to come, because they might not.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what about utilizing, like manifestation and flow with that approach?
Yeah, totally. So the first chunk of that course is a lot about like the structure behind it, and how to build the business that's right for you, and how to test your ideas, how to price, and all that kind of stuff. And then there's sort of like, okay, you have this thing that you want to make. Now let's do the fun part of like manifesting income, manifesting clients, how to actually consciously do that, how to really master your mindset and get so clear on everything, remove all of your blocks, all of the bad money mindset stories, any kind of resistance you have, and then get so clear on what you want. So the word I use the most in that course is the word clear. So it's getting super clear on your ideal client, your ideal customer, a day in your dream life, like how much money you're desiring to earn this month, how much you're desiring to earn for the year, what your salary is going to be for the year, how many exact clients you're looking to call in for this month. Just getting so specific and crystal clear. And I walk you through like how exactly I manifest money in my business. So I have my sticky note tactic, I have my miracle board tactic, I have my new moon intention setting tactic, and I talk you through as well about some of my really cool like high-end mindset manifestation strategies. So I talk a lot about the goals book and scripting and the energetic upgrade, which are all like processes that I've handcrafted for myself and I literally use every day. And I just love weaving that stuff in because that's the fun bit. And that's honestly like, it's what I do. Like Your Conscious Empire is copy paste what I do. And, I was so close. I was right before the end of the launch and I was talking to my partner, Chris, and I had this like wave because I talk a lot about the scarcity mindset and the abundance mindset as well in that course. And I was like, oh my God, I've given away actually like the secret sauce to everything in this course. It's everything, how I run my business. I've left nothing out. Like it's like Coca-Cola giving away the recipe for Coca-Cola. And I was like, oh my God, I had a moment of dipping into scarcity where I was like, is somebody else going to go recreate me? And I was like, oh my God. At first I was like, that's scarcity mindset. And that's so normal that we dip into these old mindset habits and patterns. And part of what's important is like leaning into the abundance and realizing that everybody is going to make their own thing. Everybody has their own zone of genius. And it's just giving people an outline that's super clear, super specific, like actionable next steps and, strategy interlaced with this awesome, intentional, woo-woo, fun, spiritual high vibe, accessing your higher consciousness way. And it's everything in one go. It's everything I've learned from business school, Silicon Valley, running your own business, doing it in a conscious high vibe way. And then with this twist of law of attraction and manifestation and mindset. And I was like, if I'm going to just share it, I'm just going to share everything. So yeah, it's an accumulation of everything that really worked for me.
The value that you get in your conscious empire is pretty ridiculous. And I said to you, because, I've been working my way through it, that if I have had all of this information when I first began my business, it would have saved me a ton of time. And I think, Kelly, your how-to guides that you go through are just like super valuable. How to get your podcast set up, how to get a website set up, how to sell a course, sell products. It's really amazing for me, knowing what I do now, to look at what you've created and to see how you are drawing on that, Silicon Valley approach with all this flow of manifestation. It really seems like you say, it's a very natural fit for you to be teaching this course. And I'm just so blown away, because I listen to tons of different podcasts. I know a fair bit about the Silicon Valley approach, but this has been through literally listening to tens and tens and tens of hours of podcasts and audiobooks, reading all of the things. And then still, not being able to really understand it in the way that I could it being explained as relevant as it has by you through your conscious empire, doing what you do, being, very similar to what I do. So it's really amazing to see all of that. And I just think you've done such an amazing job, but I really love this, how you've mixed the Silicon Valley approach with the flow. And actually, when you were talking about value, it's so interesting. I was listening to a podcast ages ago with Amy Porterfield and Pat Flynn, and they were talking about, whenever you're offering anything, you want to be almost, this is too much that I'm giving. This is too good. And I think that's a really good test. And I felt like that with Embrace Your Feminine Essence as well. And everything I'm doing, coaching, everything, I always feel like I'm on that, wow, this is too much value for what it is. But I think that's always amazing, because you walk in knowing that you've delivered.
Totally. Yeah, I love that. And I know what episode you're talking about, because I really enjoyed Pat Flynn, and I listened to him a ton when he, doing the Smart Passive Income podcast. And yeah, that idea of always offering, I like to just offer everything. It's everything I know in one go, and I don't leave anything out. And I like to do that. Part of, I have a huge bit on your conscious empire in terms of integrity. So, I have a working definition of integrity, and I talk about it in both my courses, so Your Best Life and Your Conscious Empire. And it says, I do what I say I'm going to do by when I say I'm going to do it. And upholding integrity is so important to me. And I also talk about how everything I talk a lot about in the course as well, that at kellytrach.com, we only communicate one way, openly and honestly. That's written in every single coaching agreement, legal agreement on my website. And integrity and offering up everything, not leaving anything out, being 100% transparent, totally being open, not hiding, not screwing around, not lying, not saying that you have a limited amount of seats when you have an unlimited amount of seats in your online workshop, being so integrity with your word, because it comes back to that energetic thing, right? There's this huge component as well in that course about energy and harnessing your energy and really activating that energy when you go into doing your work. And that's been a huge part of my business too. It's just transparency, honesty, integrity, owning my word. It's 100% me. I didn't leave anything out. I intentionally put in, honestly, even my trade secrets of how I built my tribe, how to build a loyal following, how the heck I got so many podcast downloads, how I'm making money. It's full transparency and integrity broken down as if you were, a business bestie conversation. It's literally designed that it's if you and I are talking on one of our business bestie calls, and we're just chatting, it's what I would say to you in full realness is what I relay in my courses. And I think that's also so important for the listeners when they're building their products, is to build it, give it your best, give it your everything. Because I also talk about making your own working definition of success, because success means different stuff for different people. And I made my own working definition of success in university when I was trying to get this one job that I never got, and it was a blessing in disguise. But a huge part of my own definition of success was like, I did the best I absolutely could, and I want the world to see it. And even if nobody sees it, I still see it, and I still recognize myself. And that piece has been so big for me, because like, no matter what I build, even if nobody bought it, but people buy it because I've tested and validated my idea, right? But
Yeah.
but even if nobody buys it, I don't care, because it's the best I can do, and it's the best I've ever given it. It's the best energy I can put into it, and it's just so much of it is me in my products. And when you give it your everything, then you're energetically clear. It's like you fulfilled your duty, and it's like, okay, I've totally completed that, versus like half-assing it or hiding or not telling the full truth, or like being selective about what works. Like in that course, I talk about the stuff that failed, and like what I did wrong, and all the times I didn't make money, and all the times like it wasn't working, and how people can learn from that too, which I think is so important.
Absolutely. And I love that you talk about how you do business is how you do life.
Yeah. That's a huge thing for me.
So important. And this is all coming back to integrity, which I just think that, and I've spoken about this with you before privately, but everything when you're running a business, it really is a reflection of everything that's going on in your, inner world as well. And you've got to be really, you need to have that self-worth stuff sorted out. And so I love that you go through all of this in your conscious empire as well, and that you're talking about this, because when we're trying to attract even money, for instance, let's talk about money. If we're trying to attract money into our life, but our self-worth is super low, and we don't think that we're deserving of money, and we actually don't even want to receive money, we have got to go clear that up. Otherwise, we're blocking the flow of abundance into our life. And, I think it's such a shame, because if you're someone who's running a conscious business, you've got a message out there that's going to help really serve other people. You're doing it with integrity, because I think anyone listening to this podcast is going to be someone who values integrity. You're doing all of these things, and yet you're not receiving financial wealth through that. I think that is such a shame, because we need to have money. We need to have money to continue in the flow of all of that, and to being able to produce. So I just think it's so important that you're talking about this in your conscious empire, and that you're really shining a light on it, because it really does matter, and we should be receiving money for the work that we do, and particularly for work that we're doing that is conscious with integrity.
Totally. Yeah. The mindset bit, as always, is a huge piece of my work and what I teach. And totally, like right off, I made sure to include a ton of mindset stuff, because I know for me, when I was starting a business, I had to deal with so many mental battles of like, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. People are doing it better than me. Lewis Howes has 1 million downloads. How will I ever get a single download? Tony Robbins has already made it. Like, where's the room for Kelly Trach? And yeah, I've intentionally put in a whole module on like how to really program your mindset for success. And oh my God, there's so much stuff on money mindset, because money was one of my biggest spiritual assignments, and like nailing my money story and mastering my money mindset, and honestly being at the point where I believe in my vision. I talk about my insanely huge goals for kellytrach.com, and taking this to a multiple 7-figure business in the next several years. And that's the kind of stuff I would have been afraid to say out loud. And I'm at the point where I've mastered my money story so much that I went to the bank the other day, and they were asking me how much I wanted to earn in the next like 3 years. And I was like, we're going to be in the multiple 7 position. Like, that's it. Multiple 7, no backing down. That's it. And I said it with so much confidence that I was like, oh my God, that came out of my mouth. And I had to have a moment of like, oh my God, holy crap, I've come so far. And I just teach you how to do that yourself, because money mindset has been a huge thing for me in my business. And I made sure to teach my students that bit too, so that like you're like 100% solid on everything, like holistically.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I agree so much with everything you're saying. And it is sometimes some of the things that when we're changing our beliefs, they sound like such a stretch in the beginning, but really once we keep repeating them, and then we really do start to believe them, because it really sinks in, and we're reprogramming our brain, and it's all just shifting. So it's amazing when you do have that moment when someone asks you something like that, and you respond so automatically, and you realize for the first time that, Oh wow, I've really shifted it now. Like this is unconscious now. I don't need to, continue to be trying to learn this. I've learned it. Although of course you've got to continue to be reinforcing the message. But I think that is a really awesome moment when that happens. So Kelly, I want to shift things slightly and just ask you now about. So I really love how you talk about true innovators going from the inside out. And so I wanted to ask you about, what are some tools that you use to make sure that you're staying in your own lane and you're really, allowing that space for you to be able to innovate from the inside out?
Yeah, totally. I talk a lot about innovation in this course and how to build stuff that the world's never seen before. So I go back to Steve Jobs because he's an easy example for all of us to understand and visualize with the iPhone. So when you're innovating, you can go look at everything else, everything everybody's ever made, and then go home and build something based on what you've seen. Or you can go within, tap into your soul, tap into your divine heart center and build something from the depths of your being. So Steve Jobs, he was by himself, like in Cupertino, and he made, the iPhone. He made like the idea for the iPhone. He made the idea for the Apple computer, like out of his garage. And then he brought it to the world and said, what do you think of this? Now, that's the right way to do innovation, is when you make it in the quietness of your own place and in the stillness of your soul. And then you bring it to the world and say, what do you think of this? What kind of feedback do you have? How can I improve this? Versus like going and asking everybody what they want and then taking it home. Because here's the deal. People actually can't tell you what they want. This is something I talk a lot about in Your Conscious Empire, is that people actually can't give you feedback if they've never seen it before, if they've never experienced it before. And sometimes people don't know that they want it until they see it. So for example, I would have had no idea how to give ideas to Steve about how to build a phone. I'd be like, there's a cord and you pick it up. I don't know. And you know what I mean? Like I could have never told him, hey, you should build the app store, or you know what, how about a touch screen? Because that's stuff I couldn't comprehend. Your consumers and your customers can't give you feedback until you've given them something to see, because everybody's got their own zone of genius, right? So it's really important to stay in your own lane and build true innovation from the heart. So I'm really big on this. I talk a lot about self-comparison because that's a huge thing a lot of entrepreneurs face, and a lot of coaching clients I see is the self-comparison. Somebody is doing it better than me. They're already doing it. Their stuff is way better. They're farther along. They charge more. It's really robust. Well, nobody's ever done it like you, and somebody needs to hear it in the way you say it, because different people can communicate the same message, but it takes that one person to explain it in the way that you understand that blows it out of the water for you. So I read a ton of stuff on mindset and money mindset, and then I read Jen Sincero's books, You're a Badass and You're a Badass at Making Money, and I was like, oh my God, this woman understands me. And it was this internal click. So how you create those kinds of products is from innovating from the inside out. So I don't compare myself to the people on the internet anymore. So here's the deal. I unfollow anybody that triggers me whatsoever. So 100% I still get triggered on Instagram of people that are farther along, or, it brings up my ego and all of its crap. So I literally just unfollow. Just directly. Like, it's a lot easier to unfollow people that you're comparing yourself to than it is to continually master your mindset. So unfollowing anybody. I subscribe to 3 coaches' newsletters. And they are 3 coaches that I personally work with and personally pay for their advice and help. And I'm interested and I enroll in their programs. That's it. Like, when I'm looking for people to follow, I'll follow them because I'm interested in them, or I'm working with them, or I'm going to hire them, and I'm inspired by them to uplevel my own success. I do not follow any other coaches. Like, I see a lot. I used to have a newsletter, and I used to see a lot of people do this. People will kind of like spy on your email news list, where they're not going to buy stuff from you. They just want to see the emails you send out. And that is so bad for your innovation. Like, I would so encourage you to, if you're not reading somebody's emails, get off their email list, because it doesn't matter what they make. And it's just going to taint the way you do it and the way you say it and the way you share it. So yeah, I only subscribe to newsletters where I'm actually buying people's work, because that's like, I'm interested in their stuff. I don't subscribe to newsletters where I'm just want to see what they send out or what they're making, or like I'm just want to see what the quote unquote competition does. Competition is another thing I address in Your Conscious Empire, because when you realize that I talk a lot about how you are your own competitive advantage, and by being your true self, that's actually the secret formula for success. When you tap into that abundance and that realization, you don't need to compete with anybody else, and that everybody else's work is irrelevant to you. I also don't go on other life coaches' webpage. I don't know intimate offerings. I don't follow people that do similar work to me. I just 100% stay in my own lane. I don't listen to podcasts where like I'm interested in what they're doing. I listen to podcasts that are teaching me stuff because I need to learn it. I don't go listen to shows where I think, quote unquote, they're my competition, or I need ideas, or I need to figure out like what I can do for my own based on what they're sharing. Like it's 100% like when I'm listening and learning, it's for my own value and because I need to work on my own self, and like because I'm paying them or enrolling in their stuff. And anything else that is self-comparison or could potentially turn into self-comparison is 1000% eliminated. No ifs, ands, or buts. Like I don't even let my ego go there. It's just like, I just prefer the like black and white, cut and dry, yes or no kind of deal when it comes to self-comparison. And I 100% cut it out.
Oh, I love everything that you shared there. We're so aligned on this. And I think it's actually, you're doing not only yourself but your community a disfavor if you're not protecting your own ability to innovate. And I think social media, and also emails to like anything where you're comparing yourself to someone else rather than actually being inspired, because I think so many people talk about being on social media and falling into the comparison trap. I get it. I completely understand. It's really easy. When I first moved into life coaching and I was making all these new life coaching friends and then seeing their stuff, and even though I'm really focused always on just, what's my next step, and I actually don't spend a ton of time on social media. But when you want to support the people in your community, you want to like their things and engage in all of this, I had to create my own boundaries around that, because even though I wasn't going to look at their stuff, it was still influencing me, because it's then like, such and such is doing this. Oh, maybe I should do that. But I'm already doing something else, right? So I think like depending where you're at, and especially when you're first starting out, it's really easy to be influenced. So you've got to really protect that space until you sort of work out your own way of doing things. And because at the same time we want to see, how things are done, there's that really fine line. So I think that's why, it's difficult, because you got to figure out where the line sort of tips for you, where it's a slippery slope and where it's something that's, these people are expanders for me. They're expanding, they're inspiring me, which is why I always love to use the word inspire. When that changes, like you said, it's much easier to just unfollow someone or unsubscribe or whatever it is you're doing than to have to remaster your mindset every single time. 100% agree.
Yeah. And a tiny tip I would add is like, if you're looking to build a website or you're making your first ebook, like if you're going to look at websites for examples or for styles, like look at stuff that's outside your industry. Like look at an awesome, a food blog, and you like love her style, but because you're never going to compare yourself to the food blog, because you don't do that stuff. Like if I'm life coaching and this person talks about beautiful pastries, I'm never going to go make a pastry ebook, but I love her style. And if you're going to look for inspiration, I always recommend looking at stuff that's outside your industry, just because you're going to be inspired that way versus competitive, because you're never going to make that product.
That's a fantastic tip. I love that. Yes, outside your industry for sure. So, okay, Kelly, I've got one final question for you.
Sure.
And so this is just about, building a conscious community.
Yeah.
So a little bit different from building a conscious business, but very much related. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on building a conscious community, because I think you've done a really wonderful job.
Yeah, totally. Community is huge. You don't have a business unless you have a community, right? Because like you don't have sales unless people are interested in your things. So I always talk about in your conscious empire that you are co-creating with the universe. You do 50% of the work. The universe does 50% of the work. You do 50% of the work. Your listeners do 50% of the work. Like I made a podcast, people listen. I make a course, people enroll. Like, I set the intention to create and manifest more coaching clients. The universe does the work and brings them to me. Like understanding that it's not just you, and it's way bigger, that the community piece is important and huge. And it's you and them doing a beautiful dance together. Like they engage with you, you engage with them, you make stuff, they listen, they create things, you listen. The biggest tips I can give, for starters, there's a whole section in your conscious empire on how to build a loyal tribe with love. And I talk a lot about my secret sauce of how I've really cultivated a community. A huge part is engagement, and like authentic engagement, and making sure that you are supporting them. Like, I talk a lot about one of the hashtags that I use a lot, and it's do it for the love. And I create stuff for the love of my people. I create stuff that they're looking for. I am always building with the end user in mind, or the final person, or the client, or the student. Like, making sure that your focus is on your people and not you, and building for them what they want, what they desire, how you can champion their needs, how you can speak up for the people that are in your community that don't have as big of a platform as you, and how you can create like more change and more impact through like taking their message and championing it further. And the biggest tips I can give is always like engagement. Like, talk to your people. I have this huge piece in the how-to guides, and I include a ton of screenshots and stuff of like how you should actually engage with the person that's interested in your work. And when somebody tells you that they like your stuff, how you reply to that, because a lot of people will give a heart emoji or just say thanks. That's not how you build a tribe. That's not how you build friends online, because your community is like, it's an extension of your friends. Like, I always look at my community and my listeners as my friends, and I call them my friends on purpose because they are my friends. So I see a lot of entrepreneurs sort of being like, I sold it and that's it. Or like, I put the podcast up and that's it. And like, if people email you back, maybe that you're not replying, or people comment, you're not really giving your full attention to the comments. Engage, like, write back, spend time writing back. Like, somebody took time to message you and tell you how much they love your work. Take a second to actually nourish that relationship, nourish that friendship, engage and say thank you, and like, be interested in what they're doing. Like, I always like to follow back a lot of the women in my community, because I want to know what they're making. I want to watch their Instagram stories. I want to go read their blog posts. I'm fascinated because they're my friends. And if I'm interested in conscious business and consciousness and law of attraction, they're interested in it too. And I want to read what they're sharing, and I want to listen to their podcasts. And that engagement is one of the biggest tips I can give, is understanding that it's a two-way street, and that to build a friendship, you got to build it, right? Like, it's like dating. You got to put time into the dating to get a partner. Like, if you're going to marry somebody, you're going to date them for a long time first. And if you want your tribe to feel supported by you, you got to spend time engaging with them. So engagement is like the biggest tip I can give. Also, I talk a lot in my course about surprising and delighting. That's a huge component of kellytrach.com. So that's always really fun. And that's how I've built a lot of my community. And I teach you all the juicy in-depth steps in that course. So I'll save it for the people who want to enroll.
Beautiful. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. And I 100% agree that engagement is so key. And I think it's amazing how much this is overlooked by people. So we want to share the love, right? We really want to share the love. And I think it's so beautiful when you know that the people in your community are your friends, when you treat them as your friends, because, like, to be honest, they're so important in your life. You know, these are the relationships to treasure. They're people who, you know, care as much as you've just mentioned about the things that you mentioned. And often, if you look at some of your friends, and a lot of people, when we're moving into all of this spirituality and personal development, we tend to find that some of our friends change and evolve. And so the community that we create online, whether that's through our business or for personal, I think it's really one to be treasured. So thank you for sharing your beautiful advice about engagement. Well, Kelly, this has been such a wonderful conversation. I've really, really, really loved everything that you've been sharing on building a conscious empire. I have loved going through your conscious empire myself. Like I said, I think that this is something that, you know, if I had this at the beginning of starting my business, it would have saved me a whole chunk of time. And it's so beautifully aligned with, you know, everything that we stand for over here at, you know, Create a Life That Is Beautiful. And me personally, Letitia Ringe, I like to refer to my business as Create a Life That Is Beautiful sometimes as well, for the same reasons that you were talking about before, Kelly. But I just want to thank you. You are our first repeat guest on the podcast.
Thank you. It's such an honor and a pleasure and a treat to be here. So thank you so much, Letitia.
No problems at all. And yes, I know that everyone's going to love hearing from you again. So thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you, Letitia. Bye.
So there it is, my friend. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Kelly Trach. And Kelly, thank you so much again for coming on to the podcast and sharing your beautiful wisdom and energy with us all. So I adored this conversation, especially as it related to, of course, innovation and running a conscious business. I do get some people asking me, how is running a conscious business any different to running any other business, and how do you get over that feeling that this is just capitalism? And I love the way that Kelly explained it, because this is what I explained. The more people that we have running businesses with integrity and with a purpose that is not just for profit, something that's going to help elevate all of us as a community, helps the planet, is opportunity for all of us to invest in something that's actually helping to create social change. And so that is so important to me, and it's so important to Kelly. I also love everything she was talking about comparison and innovation, because over here I'm all about helping us to be in our creative and innovative power as much as possible. That's how we create evolution. That's how we create meaningful change. That's how we create seriously in highest alignment with who we're here to be. That's how we become fulfilled. So we want to be there. And I do agree, this whole thing with spying on other people, with being too influenced by what other people are doing, with focusing too much on what other people are doing, that is blocking you from innovation. It needs to come from the inside out, and it's so important. You help not only yourself evolve, but also your community around you. And you have the answers, my friend. You do. They're inside you. So now I want to run through with you your Conscious Empire offer when you purchase the course through me and my affiliate link. This course is seriously, this is no joke. I honestly, wholeheartedly endorse this course. I really believe that this would have seriously saved me so much time and energy had I had this at the beginning of launching my business. It is an incredible course. It's the first affiliate offer I have on the podcast. I absolutely adore it. So I've enjoyed so much going through this course. And I already have a business, and I've already done a lot of what's recommended in this course, but that was with a lot of effort, trying to figure it all out. This has been my alignment time going through the course. I've thoroughly enjoyed learning from Kelly, going through all of her guides, and I've also just been thinking about how amazing this will be to help support you, the people in my community who are trying to start their own businesses, to give you all of the background information that takes a lot of time to sift through and figure out. And there's nothing out there that I've seen that combines this Silicon Valley approach, which, as I mentioned in the episode, I've listened to countless episodes about, and then also this flowing, aligned, soulful place, which is so important to me. So important to you, I'm sure, if you're a listener of the podcast. So this course is perfect for you, as I mentioned at the beginning, if you are someone who's starting a business or wants to start a business, or is in, the first couple of years of your business, you're really looking to step up. This is a fantastic course for you. If you're a life coach, if you're a creative, I think it would go beautifully in hand with the Beautiful You coaching course if you're thinking of doing that, which I'll be also sharing details about my affiliate offer for the Beautiful You coaching course. So make sure you also keep an eye out for that in the next couple of weeks. I want to let you now know of what the offer is if you purchase your Conscious Empire through me. And I'm really excited. This is so valuable. I did second guess whether I should actually give this, but I feel so called to, because I know it's going to be super helpful for you. So when you purchase your Conscious Empire before the 9th of September, which, as I mentioned earlier, is the new moon in Virgo, you will be enrolled into my course, Embrace Your Feminine Essence, which is my online course to reconnect you to your feminine energy, to teach you how to use your menstrual cycle and hormonal cycle as a woman to leverage your full creative power and potential, and help you integrate this beautiful energy with your masculine energy to create the perfect system in both your personal, professional life and or business to thrive. Now, you will get this course for free when you use my affiliate link to purchase your conscious empire. This course is going to be sold, that is, Embrace Your Feminine Essence, for USD $333, which is so beautiful because 333 is all about alignment of body, mind, and soul. So it's going to open for enrollment at 7 p.m. British Standard Time on the 9th of September. When you purchase your Conscious Empire before that date, you will get automatic enrollment into Embrace Your Feminine Essence. All you have to do is email me your teachable receipt and make sure that the last link you use is the special affiliate link that I have, which you can find at letitiaringe.com/your conscious empire. Now, when you sign up for Embrace Your Feminine Essence, you also join a private Facebook community. You get 8 guided meditations, and in the private Facebook community, this is something that you'll be enrolled in for life. You'll also get lifetime access to Embrace Your Feminine Essence. It's an evergreen course, so it's self-study. There's 8 modules. There's a workbook for each module. There's slides for each module. You'll be taught it via video or audio, and you'll get all of that for free when you purchase your Conscious Empire. Now, I will also be giving you enrollment into our Take the Leap class that Kelly and I ran a couple of months ago, which was a specific course we ran to help you take the leap from corporate to creative. It's a 2-hour class. You get that also included in this bundle when you sign up for your Conscious Empire through me. And that has a retail price of USD $50, but personally I think it's worth way more than that. Now, as I mentioned, I think that this course is incredibly valuable. It's worth every cent. This will be one of the best things you invest in your business. I do not say this lightly. I know it's my reputation on the line. I have absolutely adored going through it. It has been totally my alignment time, as I said before. It would have saved me so much hassle if I had this at the beginning of my business. It's got so many of the tips that I actually already use right now. There's so much practical advice that will literally have you stopping in your tracks. Kelly also tells you how to create an ebook, start a podcast, do your online courses, start your website. There is so much in here, guys. Seriously, like my mouth was already on the floor just when I looked through the how-to guides. As I mentioned at the beginning, she also includes a high vibe communication handbook, which I think is also super valuable. And you know, I'm just always so bowled over by Kelly's high level of professionalism. She actually makes me want to be more professional because I tend to be more relaxed about things, but I so admire her professionalism that it makes me want to be more professional. So that's saying something. I'm really inspired by Kelly, and I think that we just make a really great team. And so I'm so honored that I get to share this offering with you as part of my community, because I think that, you know, Kelly and I share so many ideals. We have many people in my community who are also part of Kelly's community, and I just want to be able to help you as best as possible. And I really do believe that this is the way to do it, by enrolling into your Conscious Empire. If this is what calls for you, if your intuition is saying, yes, this is what I need, and I would love to give you Embrace Your Feminine Essence with that offer when you do sign up. But remember, you've got to use my special affiliate link that you'll find at letitiaringe.com/your conscious empire, and you have until the 9th of September to sign up. After that date, you can still use my affiliate link to sign up for your Conscious Empire, and you'll still get access to the Take the Leap workshop. However, you won't be enrolled for free into Embrace Your Feminine Essence. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to send me a DM over on Instagram at Create a Life That Is Beautiful. And, if you loved this episode, and I'm sure that you have if you're listening to this part of the episode, could you please let me know what resonated most for you? Take a screenshot of your screen right now listening, tag me on Instagram, send it through Instagram stories. Let me know exactly what you loved. And I'd just love to hear from you. And, if you know anyone else who you think would benefit from this offer or from this episode, make sure you share it with them. And if I could ask you as well, if you haven't yet left a review on iTunes for this podcast, I would so appreciate you leaving an honest review, because this helps other people who this episode would be perfect for to find it. They really benefit by you sharing your voice and how it's resonating for you and what you enjoy about it. So all in all, I so thank you for listening all the way to the end. I hope you have a really beautiful week, and I will be back next week with another episode to help you unlock your truth and purpose and create a life that is beautiful to you. Bye.